Well, tackling child poverty has been one of the previous and present government's top priorities. Both have committed to legally binding targets to bring it down. But the Institute for Fiscal Studies report claims that these targets will be missed by a wide margin. It claims that the coalition's tax and benefit policies will leave almost a quarter of Britain's children in poverty by the end of this decade. As things stand, average incomes are expected to fall by 7% between 2009 and 2012. That's the largest fall for 35 years. And as a result, around 600,000 children will be driven into poverty. From 2013, a new universal credit will be introduced that will lift 450,000 children out of relative poverty by 2021. But any positive impact will be far outweighed by the combined impact of other tax and benefit changes. The IFS forecasts that by 2020, 3.3 million children will be in relative poverty. That's an increase of 2.5 million. Now, relative poverty is defined as living in a household earning less than 60% of the average income in that year. The IFS also predicts 3.1 million will be children in absolute poverty by 2020, an increase of 2.8 million. Absolute poverty means living in a household with real terms income below 60% of the 2010 to 11 average. Now, if the forecast is correct, it would mean the government missing legally binding targets set down in the Child Poverty Act, which states that no more than 5% of children should be in absolute poverty and 10% in relative poverty by the end of the decade. Well, the government has responded, saying the IFS has failed to take into account the impact of behavioural changes. It insists reforms to tax, welfare and education will have a dynamic effect on the poorest households.
We can help it. Right after this news rundown from Sarah Jane.
Thanks very much, Eamon. The deal to sell the Olympic Stadium to West Ham has collapsed. The government is said to be concerned that legal action by Tottenham and the Ministry of Defence has published details of 40 meetings between the Secretary of State Liam Fox and his friend Adam Werrity. The medical ethics body says the NHS should pay for the funerals of organ donors. The Nuffield. The New Zealand government says the oil spill from a stranded container ship off its coast is the country's worst environmental disaster. The country's Slovakia's parliament will vote later on measures designed to boost the powers of the Eurozone's bailout fund. The country is the largest. A 31-year-old woman will appear before magistrates later, charged with the murder of another woman in a busy shopping street. A team of British scientists are on a mission to discover how life on Earth began. They'll travel to... The Prime Minister will announce the launch of a new website where parents can complain about TV programmes, advertisements or products they feel it's now no more than that. But Dion says, yes, the Beatles outraged parents by the length of their hair and many years later their hippie clothing. But they did wear clothes. They didn't appear half naked, dancing, bumping and grinding like pole dancers.
Elvis did, though.
Elvis did bump and grind a little bit. Jen says music videos are these days no different to soft porn, and there are restrictions on access with regard to that. It's time the government clamped down on it and dragged the standards back up. And this is from Kirsty. She has a 3-year-old daughter and says, I hate the fact that she could actually dress the same as my 20-year-old sister, right down to padded bras. I found her putting on makeup the other week. The reason, because she wanted to look pretty.
OK, Parent Port is the new website that's going to be there where you can put your objections about all things that sexualise youngsters. The newspapers... Now, a story we've been talking about throughout the programme this morning. Here it is making front page. New curbs on Intom Parmentas here to talk about... He
says kids see way too much too young now. I can't see how some government website is going to stop this. It's just the way society is nowadays. David chips in and says, this site to me is a complete waste of time and hopefully not too much of a waste of money. Will this website have any real power to remove any product from public view? Music videos, movies, adverts, they're all screened and aired before a board. If they're going to get screened again and then cut, why are we doing this and just
Tom,
spending more money?
It's called Parent Port and it's going to be set up. What will it do?
Well, this is from shops that aren't particularly appropriate. When you think of artists like Rihanna, I mean, she's come in for an awful lot of stick about how appropriate she is for the kind of audience that she reaches. She's, of course, very popular, though.
We used to have Mary Whitehouse campaigning about this sort of thing, and she was mocked and derided, and now we're setting it up officially.
Well, that is a big question. I mean, for an example, when was the last time that you saw something that you thought...
She's a young 20-year-old woman, why shouldn't she be able to dress in a sexy manner? But I think on the flip side of that argument, like you said, she appeals to 9, 10-year-olds. They buy her music, they want to watch her music videos. They think people our age are sitting around watching music videos. We might buy her music and think she's very pretty, but the music videos that she's making are for a younger audience.
I think no one's expecting everyone to be walking around in sacks. And
Does that protect against those sort of things? What date with what's happening sports-wise?
Yeah, to bid to become a tenant of that Olympic Stadium anyway, and they may yet still get it.
Okay. Let's have a look at the weather picture to round off the programme. Niles, good morning.